There are days when wanting God and wanting to feel close to God actually feels heavier than not believing in Him at all. And the reason is because belief can feel solid, defined, certain. But desire, without having the feeling, can sometimes feel exposed, like you're reaching for something that just isn't reaching back. And that can quietly make you wonder if you're doing something wrong. Take, for example, this morning. This morning for me didn't look spiritual at all. I woke up, I said my prayers of gratitude, but then I opened my eyes, I sat on the edge of my bed and I just started staring at the floor for a moment. There was no rush, there was no phone, and there were no words forming to say another prayer. But there was that familiar question sitting there quietly in my mind. Am I actually close to God, or am I just hoping that I am? Now, it was nothing dramatic. There was no crises. I didn't feel far. Honestly, I just didn't feel much at all. And for a long time, I believed that moments like that meant distance. That connection with God was supposed to feel clearer than this, warmer than this, more obvious. But Scripture doesn't talk about connection the way we often do. It doesn't treat desire as absence. It treats desire as movement. In Psalm 42, it says, "As the deer pants for streams of water, so my soul pants for you, O God." That verse isn't written by someone who feels spiritually fulfilled. It's written by someone who is aware of thirst. Now let me explain something. Thirst only exists where life exists. A disconnected heart doesn't long for anything. A dead thing doesn't reach for anything. So wanting God, even quietly, even without emotion, even without clarity, is already evidence that something is alive and moving beneath the surface. We often assume connection with God should feel like closeness, like warmth, like reassurance. But Scripture speaks about connection as seeking, as remaining, as walking. Later on in the day, nothing around me had actually changed. I had the same responsibilities. I had the same quiet. But I noticed myself doing something quite small. And I paused in the middle of it. There was nothing spiritual about it. And I just simply said under my breath, "God, I still want you." That was it. I didn't ask for peace. I didn't ask for clarity. I didn't try to fix how I felt. I didn't even expect anything back. I just stayed open. And staying open is often the real work of faith. Jesus said in Matthew 7, "Seek and you will find." Now, He didn't say feel and you'll be close. He says seek. Seeking is an action, not an emotion. Sometimes connection with God looks like consistency without confirmation, like continuing without reassurance. Connection looks like walking with Him when nothing inside you feels stirred. Now, that can feel discouraging, especially if you've been taught that closeness with God should feel intense. But friends, formation rarely feels intense. Formation feels ordinary. It looks like returning again. like choosing not to close yourself off, like staying oriented toward God, even when you don't feel Him. So if today feels quiet, if your prayer feels thin, if reading Scripture doesn't land the way that it used to, that does not mean you're disconnected. It means something is forming that doesn't need noise to grow. Your wanting still matters. Your staying still counts. Look, you are not failing faith. You are practicing it. So once today, at any moment, just pause briefly and say, God, I still want you. No fixing, no explaining. There's no emotion required. Just staying open. Now, before we close, I do want to add that if this kind of quiet, lived faith resonates with you, if you're someone who's choosing to stay open to God without pressure or performance, I want you to know that's what we're building here on this channel. And anchoring partners for Living Grace are people who believe this kind of ministry matters. Faith that's practiced in ordinary days, without the hype, without emotional pressure, without pretending. If you feel led to become an anchoring partner, you help create space for these conversations to continue and for others who are quietly seeking God to find steady ground. There's no urgency. There's no obligation. It's just an open invitation to walk with us more closely. I'll leave the link in the description below, and the link is also on our profile. But I also want you to know something here. You being here, you commenting on our videos, sharing our videos, you are already a part of this ministry. And I want to thank you for that. Now, before we close, I want to leave you with this. If you've been wanting God, even when you don't feel close, even when prayer feels thin, even when nothing inside you feels certain, I want you to know that that desire is not being ignored. God does not measure connection the way we do. He isn't waiting for intensity. He's not waiting for eloquence. He isn't waiting for you to feel a certain way. He honors the sincere heart that stays open. Scripture tells us that a bruised reed He will not break, and a smoldering wick He will not extinguish. If your faith feels more like a quiet ember than a flame right now, that does not disqualify you. It means something is still burning. And staying with God in that place is not weakness. It's faith forming slowly, the kind that lasts. Friends, if you're still wanting God, you're still walking with Him. God bless you, and have a blessed day.